Welcome. Thank you very much for being here. Welcome to the Summer Solstice webinar for Innovations to Wellness. And today we're going to be talking about enjoying the summer transition because there is a lot of joy in the summertime. And hopefully you're all enjoying this really nice hot weather that we're having across the US. Definitely hope that you're staying cool and at least comfortable out there. Today is a beautiful sunny day in the San Francisco Bay Area. Not quite as hot here as it is in some of the other places. So I wish you well wherever you are. So the recommendations in today's presentation, really the goal is to help you to achieve your highest good and achieve some harmony and balance in your life, and then have some really practical skills that you can use to help heal your own life, to empower you. The visualizations and a little bit of guided meditations, some points that we'll learn today, to things that you can actively do to employ to help your own health and well-being. So I am Dr. Crystal Lynn Keeler. I have a nice little word salad of all my studies. And I was in public health research before for about a decade before I turned the last 13 years to the study of Chinese medicine. So my real goal here today is to help to explain some of the concepts of Chinese medicine in a way that you can employ in your everyday life. So that's my main goal today. I'd just like to thank Adam Barr for his wonderful and generous technical support in the background. He's waving the little flag there. He's helping to do the PowerPoint and everything technical. So I really appreciate his help. As people join, I'm gonna play the crystal bowl briefly. This one is designed for the high heart chakra, which is perfect because it actually is the sound of joy. So it's perfect for today's talk. So welcome everyone. All right, next slide, please. All right, so we just have two brief disclaimers. Let's set the bowl down. Just two brief disclaimers. One is that this webinar is recorded, but all of you are muted and there's no cameras for you. So just watching the webinar signifies your consent that you know that it's being recorded. Nothing about you is being recorded, though. And this information is for educational purposes only. So if you do have specific medical questions or need medical advice, please seek a medical professional to ask anything that you might need. So today we're going to be summarizing the qualities of summer, the fire season. Also, we have such a hot weather right now. It's a great time to be learning about this. We're going to learn about the 4 pathways for the fire channels that are associated with the body. And then we're going to walk through a guided meditation, how to harmonize and balance out fire of the heart and the water of the kidneys in a guided meditation. So I want to, before we start, just take a moment to get grounded. So settle nice into your chairs. Imagine your feet soaked into the earth 9 feet deep, connected to the center of the core of the earth. And take a nice easy breath into your abdomen. And I'll start by reading one of my favorite meditations by Thich Nhat Hanh. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. Next slide, please. So before we begin, I'll just review a little bit of concepts that are very helpful for us to understand the Chinese medicine terms. And the first important one is yin and yang theory. So yin and yang theory is all about relative terms, not in absolutes. So we know that fire is yang energy, and cooling things like blood is the yin energy. So that's an example from what we're going to be talking about today, the heart and fire. So There's also function involved. So function is more yang in nature, and nourishment is more yin in nature. So the function, the action of the heart to beat and to pump and to get circulation through, that's a yang function. And the yin function is the nourishment, the getting the all the nutrients to the heart itself. When we think about fire, also there's that duality where the flame is the yang energy, but the fuel, like wood or gas or oil, the fuel is a more yin aspect, a more substantial part. So that's how yin and yang relate to the fire season. Next slide, please. So we're going to also review 5-element theory because this is actually going to come up a lot in today's talk. We're going to talk about this correlation between the elements and how that corresponds to our emotions and our spiritual aspects in terms of Chinese medicine. So we're going to review this diagram, which shows the generating cycle. So each of those arrows from the left to the right, that shows the generating cycle around the chart. So wood generates fire, fire generates earth, and so on. So we're going to really look at the relationship. There's a relationship between wood and fire, and there's a relationship between water and fire so that we're going to talk about today. So the outer circle is the generating circle. And we think about that with wood. It helps to generate fire in the natural world because trees can light on fire, or we put firewood in a fireplace and then we have fire. So there's that generating cycle element, and we'll talk about how that has a relationship within our bodies. Now the inner star that you see, that's called the controlling cycle, and that's very helpful for when things get out of balance. And so you can see here that fire controls lungs or the metal energy, and then we see that like kidneys or the water energy controls fire. And that makes just normal sense because you have a fire, you can put it out with water. And so we're going to talk about that relationship quite a bit today. Then we have a brief mention of earth too. So there's a reason that I'm mentioning earth, and we'll talk about that in the next slide here. And the reason for that is that there's a unique pattern that happens in between each season. So last season we had to talk about liver and wood and spring energy, the green energy on the left there. And then we are transitioning into fire in a couple days on the solstice. However, right in between, there's an 18-day period at the end of the season in which all of the energy returns to earth right in between the seasons. So right now, today, we're actually in earth energy, and in a couple days, it's going to transition into fire energy. And the reason I bring that up is that digestion is something really important to focus on in this year of the metal ox. And it's also really important to focus on digestion in this in-between time, in between the seasons. So just get good probiotics and prebiotics, make sure to eat nice healthy vegetables, and get some good movement into your day. Next slide, please. So as we transition from that earth energy into the fire energy, it's pretty cool in 5-element theory because fire actually has 4 channels. And that's unique because all the other elements, they only have 2. And so we get to learn all 4 today, which is really a lot of fun. The first is obvious, it's the heart, it's the fire organ. The second is the pericardium, which protects the heart. And so you think about the pericardium in Western terms, that's like the innervation, all the blood vessels, all the nourishment that gets to the heart. But in Chinese medicine terms, the pericardium is considered the heart protector. And like the heart in Chinese medicine, the pericardium is responsible for governing the blood and housing the Shen, or the mind, that spirit of the heart. So the pericardium has a dual function similar to the heart function. In ancient ways, they actually wouldn't bother the heart or the emperor, what they called the heart the emperor. They would actually treat the heart only by treating other aspects related to the heart, like the pericardium or the other fire channels, because they wouldn't want to bother the emperor. Okay, and so then we have the small intestine channel, and that's also a fire channel, and that's pretty cool because it does 2 things. Not just what we think about in Western terms, but it does separate clear from turbid fluids in the body. That's a normal small intestine function. But we can also think of the small intestine as helping to distinguish pure from turbid in our thinking patterns, in our minds. So this is like a case in which we might have trouble distinguishing what's healthy and efficacious for us to focus our thoughts on. So we might be stuck on a loop or stuck in a negative pathway, thinking about things that are going to be terrible instead of that are edifying for our life. So that can be a small intestine pattern, separating clear from turbid thoughts as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. It's pretty cool. The small intestine and the heart channels, they're called interiorly and exteriorly related. And what that means is that the channels cross both inside the body and also externally on the pinky. So when we learn the channels, I'll show you where those cross over. The fourth organ that we'll talk about today has no Western corollary, but it's very interesting because it has a lot of functions in Chinese medicine terms, and that's called the San Jiao, or the triple heater, triple burner, triple warmer. These are all names for the San Jiao. San means 3, and Jiaos are areas. So there's upper, middle, and lower Jiaos. And what this organ does is it helps with function all over the body, movement, the smooth flow of liver qi, kind of like the liver qi does. It does help the liver qi to move qi in the whole body. And then it also is really great for water metabolism anywhere in the body. It controls water passageways and the excretion of fluids. So it does have a particular relationship to water transformation. So we're going to learn these 4 channels today. Next slide, please. And we'll also learn 4 points that are related to these channels. We'll learn 1 point for each channel. Very fun. These are points that you can do at home to help yourself with a variety of issues. So the first channel that we're going to cover today is the heart channel. And so you can see the image here, which shows the route of the heart channel. And for this, I'm going to actually get out my trusty little acupuncture helper. All right. And so this might help you also in conjunction to the picture as I draw the channel for you. Now, the heart originates actually in the chest, in the heart, and the channel goes down to the small intestine and connects with the organ inside the body. And then another pathway goes up the meridian, it opens into the tongue, and then goes opens into the eye. So we hear a lot of times that the eye is the window to the soul, and this in Chinese medicine terms is how, because the heart channel actually opens into the eye. So you get a picture of someone's soul, their spirit, their Shen, when you look at someone in their eyes. So that's part of the pathway. And then the rest of the pathway actually comes out of the middle of the axilla here, goes down the arm, down the wrist, and to the pinky finger. All right, so now I'm going to show you on my hand. We're going to the inside of the pinky finger. The outside is the small intestine channel, but the inside is the heart channel. All right, so that's the channel pathway. It's helpful to know that. All right, in Chinese medicine terms, the heart does what would be very similar to in Western terms. It governs the blood. And it also houses the mind and controls sweat. So any problems with sweat, like spontaneous sweating, sweaty hands, or even like an inability to sweat, you don't sweat very easily when you exercise, these are all issues that can be related to heart qi. Now, things that are related to heart blood are like insomnia, waking up, not dream disturbed sleep. Those can all be related to like heart blood deficiency. The texts say that the heart manifests in the complexion, opens into the tongue, and is related to joy. So that's where we see that we can tell someone's Shen by looking at their complexion. If they're bright and happy, their affect is high, or if they're dim and sad and down, we can see that a brightness in complexion in comparison, and that's related to the Shen, the spirit of the heart. The heart really likes calm and peacefulness. That's what makes the heart feel settled. And so if things get too overexcited or you have too many emotions, you'll see a little red tip on the tongue. And that can be excess heart heat, or it can be also extra emotions that haven't been processed well. Processing the emotions or letting them flow through us is something that helps the heart feel peaceful and at ease. So if we're able to let go of old emotion, not hold on to it, but let us pass through us, that's something that helps us to open up to this present moment. Being in the present moment allows for freedom to enter our lives because we're able then to live in a state of peacefulness, something that our heart really enjoys. So we'll do a little meditation of that later. Machocha, he was a really amazing translator of ancient Chinese medicine texts, and he translated about heart blood. So he said that heart blood roots the mind. It embraces it and anchors it, so the mind can be peaceful and happy. And now if our heart blood is deficient and does not root the mind, this will result in mental restlessness, depression, anxiety, and insomnia. But if heart blood has heat, the person will be restless, agitated, and won't sleep well. Apart from the mental activity aspect, the mind also affects the emotional state. If the heart is strong, the mind will also be strong, and the person will be happy. So this is helpful when we're looking now at Heart 7, Shenmen, the point that we're going to learn today, because Heart 7 helps us address all of those different issues. Deadman, who was an amazing translator of points, said it doesn't matter what issue you're talking about when it comes to the heart. Heart 7 will help you treat that, whether that's deficiency or excess symptoms, whether it's heart heat or heart blood deficiency. You can treat that using Heart 7. So it's a great point for insomnia, anxiety, mental restlessness, and all those types of issues. So from the picture in the middle, you can see that there's actually 4 heart points right in a row here, right inside the wrist, and you're actually inside the tendon right here, just on the inside of that. So one of the things to note when you're looking for points, the distance between your elbow and your wrist is called 12 body inches, and it's specific to your body inches. So when you cut that in half, you get 6, and you cut that in thirds, you get 2 for this distance here. So that's how you measure along the wrist, and I'll cover that again when we're looking at the other points. But Heart 7 is actually right here in the wrist crease, and that's how you find it. So you can actually massage it, or you can use acumagnets to stimulate this point. And it will treat all kinds of things like cardiac pain, irritability, palpitations when you feel the pressure of your heart, dementia. It can help with memory and disorientation. It can help with manic depression, agitation of the heart, all kinds of symptoms. It's really amazing. So next slide, please. So now we'll talk about the small intestine, which is actually connected to the heart meridian. And the small intestine starts on the same finger. So this is the only finger that has 2 channels on it. And the heart is on the inside, and the small intestine starts on the outside. So this is one of the places where the meridians are connected. And small intestine goes outside the hand and up the arm. You see here on the back of the arm, up the neck and to the cheek. So one thing that it does is it helps with any kind of pain anywhere along the channel. So as we're talking about these channels, it's really helpful for people to notice and just scan your body to notice if you have pain anywhere along the channels that we're learning, because these points that we're learning will help you with pain on these channels. Sometimes people get neck and shoulder tightness from sitting too long in an office chair, and you can do distal points, massage distal points to help relieve some of that tension. Now, like I mentioned before, the small intestines has that very interesting function of separating pure from turbid, not just with fluids, but also with our thought processes. And Giovanni Machocha, who we talked about earlier, he described it. He said the closest link between the heart meridian, which we just learned, and the small intestine can probably be found on the psychological level. Now, the heart houses the mind, or the Shen, and it governs our mental and our emotional life as a whole. Our mental activities, they all rely on our capacity for clear judgment and decisions, and those are dependent on the small intestine. So conversely, the capacity of clear judgment must rely on our mental capacity and our clarity as a whole, which is dependent on the heart. So that talks about that interrelationship between the heart and the small intestine. Machocha did think that the best point on the small intestine channel to affect clarity of thought was actually small intestine 5. So I just briefly mentioned small intestine 5 because we're actually going to learn small intestine 3. Next slide, please. All right, so small intestine 3 is a very powerful point. There's a reason that I chose this one instead of small intestine 5 here. Small intestine 3 is a confluent point of the dew meridian. So that's the channel that goes along the spine, along the entire spine. So because it opens the dew meridian, it actually affects pain anywhere along the spine. In the neck, in the lumbar area of the back, it helps with acute lumbar sprain. So that's a really powerful point to treat back pain. And it's a powerful connecting point as well. So you can find this point by actually making a loose fist. And you look at the little crease that's made by your loose fist and between the red and white juncture of your skin here, right in the center. Might even be sore when you press on it really hard. It can be great because it's a shoestring point, and those are great for stiffness and pain anywhere along the channel. So if you see that area on the arm, anywhere along the channel where you have stiffness and pain, you can use this point for that. Next slide, please. All right, we're doing great. We have 2 more channels to talk about. One is pericardium. I love the pericardium because it also has the functions of the heart channel, helping with the spirit and the mind. It also connects with the Jiao meridian. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the pericardium is on the inside and the Jiao is on its mirror on the outside. So when we're looking at the pericardium, we'll be right here. Matocha described the pericardium this way. He said, the pericardium houses the mind with the heart. Blood deficiency of the pericardium will cause depression and slight anxiety. Blood heat of the pericardium will cause anxiety, insomnia, and agitation. Phlegm in the pericardium will cause mental confusion and, in severe cases, mental illness. So in channel symptoms, not just mental symptoms, we also might feel a sense of pressure or tension, oppression in the chest, and pericardium will treat that as well. Next slide, please. So PC6 is an incredible point for anything heart related. And it's also an amazing point for nausea of all types, for morning sickness, for pregnancy, for chemotherapy and radiation things, or just from digestive distress. PC6 is great for nausea. And the way that we find it again is we know that this is 12 body inches from our elbow to our wrist. We split that in half as 6, and then in thirds we get 2. And you make a little bird beak with your fingers like this. Then you can feel the tendons right in the center. And the point is right between those 2 tendons, 2 body inches from your wrist crease here. Research studies show this point is remarkable to treat carpal tunnel and issues of the fingers. It can also do similar things like nausea, vomiting, hiccup, all those digestive things, pain in this whole hypochondriac area, or like stuffy chest feelings. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so the Jiao channel is also a fire channel, and it's a yang organ. And this is all about function of the body and helping movement and move qi. But you also have channel symptoms. You might have pain along this aspect of the arm and the shoulder, and then this channel goes behind the SI channel and it goes around the ear. So this channel will help to treat tinnitus, dizziness, issues of the ear, that even like a little bit of loss of hearing. You can try to prevent that by using points on this channel. It is matched and related, exteriorly related to the PC channel, so they connect. And when we learn a Jiao point here, you'll learn that these connect right here. Okay, so the Jiao meridian, it starts at the tip of the ring finger and goes up like you see there. And Matocha describes some of the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of the Jiao in this way. He said, the triple burner, or which also means Jiao, the triple burner's character of fire means that this organ or channel is involved in assisting the mind, or the Shen, and the ethereal soul, which is the Hun from the liver, especially in forming and maintaining relationships. So there's an emotional balance between the outgoing movement towards other people and the inward movement towards oneself. And this Jiao helps that internal and external relationship flow. Next slide, please. All right, so Jiao, we're going to actually learn Jiao 6 but Sanjiao 5 is useful too, and you will learn that to get to Sanjiao 6. So Sanjiao 4 right here is a great point for fatigue, and you find that at the wrist crease. That's how we start to find Sanjiao 6. I like to use that for fatigue because Sanjiao is also the yuan source, or the source energy channel, and so it's a great point to like tonify energy. So we go 2 body inches from the wrist crease, from Sanjiao 4, right in the center here. And this is called Sanjiao 5. Now, PC6 was called inner pass, and Sanjiao 5 is called outer pass. And these two connect the 2 channels, Sanjiao 5 and PC6. And so when you want to actually make an impact on your body, treat some of these symptoms that we've mentioned, you can do about 3 minutes of really nice massage on these points for morning and night, twice a day. Just 3 minutes will make a huge impact on any heart issues of any kind. Now, Sanjiao 6 in the last slide was 1 more chin up, and it has very similar functions to Sanjiao 5. So they have pretty much interchangeably functions. So if it's easier for you to massage Sanjiao 5, do that. But if you have constipation, use Sanjiao 6. Next slide, please. All right. So we talked about time correspondences in our last webinar just a little bit, and I'll briefly mention the fire times go from 11 to 3 p.m. That's your heart and small intestine channels. And then they go again from 7 to 11 p.m. That's your pericardium and your triple burner channels. Now, if you happen to have symptoms the same time every day, anxiety or palpitations, like racing heart or pressure, then it's interesting to note the time of day. You might have a fire imbalance. You can have insomnia and these symptoms without having it at a particular time of day, but if something is happening every day at the same time, it's very interesting then to look at the time correspondence to balance that out. Next slide, please. All right, so this is why we're all here. How do we actually change things for the better? In physics, the natural order of things tends towards entropy. And unless we introduce work into a system, into a closed system, entropy is natural order. Work helps the system go from a disordered state to a more ordered state. And this meditation helps perform the same function. So we're trying to facilitate order within our bodies, reduce aging, and optimize a healthier state through inner alchemy. So just a little mention about the normal direction of fire is to go upward, and for water is to go downward. But that direction is separation. And in Chinese medicine, separation means death. So what we're trying to do is actually affect aging in the opposite direction. So we want to introduce visualization and meditation in order to get those directions to transition the other way. This will help transform the flow within our own bodies and increase longevity and healthier life. So again, I'd like you to put your feet on the ground if you can reach the ground, and imagine your feet soaked into the earth 9 feet deep. Take a nice breath into your abdomen, into your lower belly. Visualize where your heart is in relation to your lower belly. And then visualize the top of your head, even touch the top of your head if you like. This is called Do 20. And we can imagine the chi of the universe, of the heavens, coming into our Do 20, down our chakras to align our chakras, into our heart, harmonize our heart, down to our lower dantian, and then down into the earth, harmonize us between heaven, human, and earth. And take another nice, easy breath into your belly. And now I'd just like you to visualize your heart, the fire organ, all that love, all that warmth, and send that energy downward to your kidneys, to warm up your kidneys. Your kidneys are the water organ. So that warmth, that fire from the heart is going to go into the kidneys to mist that water upward, to nourish and soothe the heart. So we have a nice flow established between the heart and the kidneys. And in Western medicine, there's also connection between the heart and the kidneys. It helps to establish vasodilation, how much fluid that our body puts into the blood vessels to control our blood pressure. So this is a very nice meditation to ease our blood pressure, sending that fire down from the heart into the kidneys, warm the kidneys, and then misting that cool, nourishing water of the kidneys up to the heart. And on this next breath in, I'd like you to also imagine now the small of your back, which is called the Mingmen fire. This is your gate of vitality. So you can imagine now when you're sending that fire energy down to your kidneys, you're also sending it down to your Mingmen fire, gate of vitality, your spark of life, and warming that spark to warm up the kidneys, to then send that cooling water back up to the heart. You can picture your heart, that beautiful, nice red color, innervated with healthy blood vessels, all this great blood flow, protected by the pericardium, connected to the channels that we learned, to the Jiao channel, to the small intestine channel, flowing nice and easily throughout our whole body, through all the little capillaries and alveoli of the lungs, getting all kinds of oxygenation to our cells. And sending that lovely fire down to warm up the kidneys, which will send that cooling mist up to soothe the heart. Next slide, please. As we come back into this present moment from that inner alchemy, we're going to talk about some practical measures that we can implement from a public health standpoint to help our hearts. And these are pretty straightforward. You can see them on the slide here. You can dramatically reduce your risk of heart disease and help your heart health by reducing meats. And in Chinese medicine, a lot of practitioners will have you cut out all dairy and cheese and use like oat milks or some things like that. Reducing hydrogenated fats, quitting smoking, not having too much salt, and reducing your blood pressure and your cholesterol. Next slide, please. But there's things that you can increase in your diet and have more of, and so those include like having great healthy nuts and some sunflower, sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds. All of these have really healthy omega-3s among all kinds of great nutrients that can help your heart. And you can eat more cold water fish, or you can take a fish oil supplement like some people do to nourish the body and the joints. And getting very healthy vegetables and some form of aerobic exercise is also going to really help your heart. So now we're on one of the fun parts. I love to talk about Chinese herbal medicine, Western herbal medicine, because it's a wonderful way to complement your health and something that's within your grasp that you can do every day or in as needed. And so one of our herb highlights, we have 2 herb highlights today. And our first one is called Hawthorn Berry. It's also called Shanjia in Chinese medicine, and it has an amazing list of functions, both in Western and TCM, which we'll get to the TCM in our next slide. So you can get Hawthorn Berry fresh, you can get it in capsules, you can get it in formulas. It's pretty awesome. It helps in promoting blood circulation and helping with coronary artery disease, helping with heart health overall, and it has all kinds of anti-inflammatory properties. Next slide, please. Now in TCM, you get to see a little bit more of its digestive properties. It totally helps with digestion, but especially meats. So this is where it's also very helpful in digesting cholesterol and helping with fat reduction. So it's a kind of incredible digestive herb. The other thing that research shows in Chinese medicine is that it's been useful in having anti-inflammatory and anti-tumor properties. So it's a pretty incredible herb that you can take, and it's affiliated with the summertime. Next slide, please. So the second one that is an excellent summertime herb is called xigua, or watermelon. Super simple, regular food that we all would like to have in the summer, and there are reasons why. Because it is incredible to clear summer heat. It clears all kinds of heats, but especially summer heat. So if you get any kind of heat stroke, you get red face, you get irritation, irritability, watermelon's the way to go. In Western terms, it has all kinds of nutrients, vitamins, plant-based compounds that are thought to be anti-tumor properties. It helps to lower inflammation, and it helps prevent macular degeneration. So it's really great for the eyes as well. It can help the skin. It can help improve digestion. Watermelon's pretty amazing. Next slide, please. Now, in Chinese medicine terms, it can, watermelon, the properties shows us a caution because it is very cold. Now, it's great that it's cold because it helps to clear heat and clear summer heat. And in that way, it's going to relieve thirst and irritability, all those heat kind of issues. But it's very important to protect the digestion. If you have any spleen qi deficiency or digestive issues, then you need to not have too much of the watermelon all at one time, or have it with something mitigating that's warm, like ginger tea. So that's just a note that it's very cold in nature. So we need to protect our digestion when we eat too much watermelon. All right, next slide, please. All right, so each of the 5 elements has an emotional correspondence to it. And the emotional correspondence to fire or the summer season is joy, which is awesome because we can't have we can't have too much joy. I'll talk about that. But having happiness and joy in our lives in a moderation and balance is a wonderful thing, and everyone deserves to have that. So in the negative sense, too much joy can be overexcitement. It can be shock from sudden news, even if it's happy news. And when joy is out of balance or there's too much of it, it can feel really uncomfortable. The heart slows down, the qi slows down, and there's insomnia, restlessness, overexcitement, just sort of like an agitated feeling. It's not actually very fun. And the red tip might be apparent on the tongue when this happens. But in the positive side, there's all kinds of things that we can enjoy and feel grateful for. And so I'd like to take just a moment to do a small guided meditation here. So take a nice breath into your abdomen. And I'd like you to take the first 3 things for which you feel grateful for. Let the first 3 grateful things just wash over your spirit. Wash over your heart, wash over your body. Just continue to take nice, easy, peaceful breaths. Letting images of that which causes you joy to come to your mind. What do you love to do? What brings you some joy? Let these images settle into your body, into your mind, into your spirit. The present moment is all that we have, and returning to a state of oneness and being opens up our lives to live our best selves. Living in the present moment does not mean that we can't plan to execute our goals, make plans, make goals, make a future. But it does mean that we are in a state of awareness and being in this present moment that's grounded. And it's not swayed by holding on to past resentments or grudges or things from the past, or worrying about the future or what will happen, what could happen, what might not happen. Enjoying our present moment and allowing for gratefulness for the blessings that do come our way to just wash over us in this snapshot in time, in this moment, gives our heart peace and freedom. Next slide, please. So Machocha explained the connection between emotions and the mind or the consciousness, the Shen. And there's a lot of detail here. I will only go into a tiny snapshot of it and show you some books that you might be interested in if you like this material. So Machocha explained that the emotional life also depends on the Shen of the heart. With regard to emotions, as you see here, each emotion is associated with an organ. So for example, anger is associated with the liver. But Matocha said that only the Shen, and therefore the heart, can recognize those emotions. When we say or think, I feel angry, or I feel sad, who is the I that feels angry or sad? It's the Shen of the heart. So of course, emotions definitely affect all the other organs too. Like we've seen in Chinese medicine, anger will affect the liver, and some people can have idiopathic cirrhosis when they've lived a very, very angry life. But it's only the Shen that recognizes, feels, and assesses those emotions. For example, anger affects the liver, but the liver cannot feel it because it does not house the Shen, or the spirit of the heart, the mind. Only the heart can feel it because it's responsible for the insight. When one feels sad, angry, or worried, it's the Shen of the heart that feels these emotions. It is for this reason that all emotions eventually affect the heart, in addition to the other specific organs they will affect as well. And it is for this reason that the tip of the tongue becomes red in emotional problems for whatever reason the emotion exists. So just take a moment to take a deep breath and notice if you're feeling any particular emotion in this moment in time. Allow the chi of the heaven to come into your head, to wash over your spirit, your entire system, and let go of any emotions that don't serve you. Let it drain into the earth. Let the earth transform it. And then take a nice breath into your abdomen and restore a sense of peace to your heart. Next slide. So each of these 5 elements has this emotional and spiritual aspect associated with it. And in the Shen case, or the mind, that governs cognition, thoughts, perceptions, feelings, and emotions, and it's related to consciousness. There are really interesting relationships when it comes to the flow of the energy related to the 5 spirits. And so we can see that. We already know that the wood is very close to the fire, so the liver and the heart have an energy and a relationship there. And Machocha said that the liver chi is the physical manifestation of the movement of the Hun, that liver spirit. And that movement is essential to our mental and emotional life, to our spirit, so to speak. It's in its nature to move. At the psychic level, the movement of the Hun means having plans and ideas and goals in life, and a sense of direction in life. In the ancient text, the Su Wen, it compares organs to ministers, and the Hun is the minister of planning. The Hun needs to move, and that movement goes to the Shen, and the Shen actually needs the movement of the Hun. So now, when we focus on the spirit of the heart, the Shen, what does that really mean? Laurie Eve Descartes in The 5 Spirits wrote that the Shen is not only the spirit of infinite cosmic light, but is also an intangible yet recognizable quality of luminous vitality that's seen in a healthy human being. The Shen manifests in the radiance that shines out of the eyes and a vibrant, flourishing quality of the complexion. So you can see the Shen on someone's face, like I mentioned before, when they're full of joy or when they're full of sadness. You can see the sparkle in their eyes and the Shen on someone's face. When the 5 spirits experience imbalance, Machocha saw anxiety as a close relationship to a disharmony between the Shen and the Po. So anxiety is more of a relationship between the heart and the lungs, whereas bipolar disorder was more correlated to the Hun and the Shen. He also saw the Shen's capacity to extend and project outwards, which in part depends on the movement of the Hun. So you need that liver chi movement to help with the Shen spirit. Next slide, please. So, and it's lovely always to see the character of the heart. And it's very interesting to see that in translation, this heart character is in many of the words related to thinking, to the mind, to consciousness, to awareness of emotion. So Manchocha, he prefers to translate Shen as the mind rather than spirit. And he translates the spirit as the complex of all those 5 emotional things that we just talked about recently. He said that the Shen indicates the activity of thinking, consciousness, self, insight, emotional life, memory, and volition, all of which depend on the heart. He translates this as mind when it refers to the Shen of the heart. Next slide, please. And then we come to the actual character for Shen, which is a beautiful character. And part of it, this character can indicate an influx from heaven or a representation of the sun and the moon and the stars. So when we visualize that chi coming down from the heavens on the top of our head to D20, we are absorbing the chi of the sun and the moon and the stars. Machocha had all these different translations for mind: spirit, consciousness, vitality, expression. But I like this concept of the chi of the sun and the moon and the stars entering into our spirit. So I'd like to just do a very common Qigong move for you, which is called pulling down heavens. And it's very sweet to just do 3 pulling down heavens at a time. You can do it in the morning, at night, and afternoon. Anytime that you kind of feel like you could use a little centering, you can do pulling down heavens. So take a nice deep breath into your abdomen. Let go of all your cares or worries. Bring yourself into this present moment. What's the temperature on your skin? What's the comfort of your clothes? How are you sitting in your chair? You might shake off the day a little bit. And you can visualize the heaven chi, the chi of the universe, of the sun and the moon and the stars, nice and wonderful and huge, flowing down into the top of your head, into D20, into your third eye, down your mind, into your heart, your consciousness, your spirit, and down the center of your body, down into the earth. And it's nice to repeat 3 pulling down heavens as you breathe nicely into your abdomen. These also help to clear all the chakras and to center your spirit in relation to the sun and the moon and the stars, your human self and earth. So we are actually meant to be harmonized between heaven, human, and earth. All right, next slide, please. So just a review that we've talked about spirits in the 5 Shens, and even though Machocha defined the mind as the spirit of the heart, he defines spirit in general as all of these spirits, as a combination of this flow between all the organ spirits and the Shen, or the heart spirit, that governs them all. Next slide, please. If you like this detailed meaning and correlation and transformation of the 5 spirits or the 5 Shen, you might be interested in these 2 books. There's 5 Spirits by Laurie Eve Dakar, and that has a lovely aspect about relationships of these spirits and what you can do, has some things you can do to help nourish each spirit. And then we also have Nourishing Destiny by Lonnie Jarrett, which is just an incredible book. Next slide, please. Now, if you're interested in more about how the psyche relates to Chinese medicine, then you might be interested in Dr. Leon Hammer's book, Dragon Rises and Redbird Flies. Next slide, please. So how do we implement some of these recommendations from today in a holistic way that benefits our heart chi balance, maybe helps anxiety, helps calm our spirit? Well, the first way is to have some fun. Enjoy your summer. Put things into your day that help you feel joy. Enjoy the sunshine. Do something that you love in every day. We can also massage our points, especially PC6 and Sanzhou 5 or 6 here on the wrist. And we can do the inner alchemy, harmonizing heart fire and kidney water, or we can do pulling down heavens to harmonize between heaven, human, and earth. So facilitating positive emotions is also another way that really helps us to harmonize our fire element. Just putting in things like joy and peacefulness, calmness, hopefulness, relief, having good health, having some things that help us bring satisfaction. These are the things that help bring the heart peace and comfort. Attitude has also a huge impact on our health. And so if we focus on and facilitate positive emotions, we can counter our body's response to stressors. Life is going to have all kinds of stressors. Things happen. Life is life. But we can also choose how to perceive these stressful events. If we can choose to perceive them in more positive ways, like it's an opportunity for growth, or it's an ability to recognize that which we want to let go in our lives, or a chance for taking action towards your actual goals. These are ways to perceive stressors that might actually facilitate our ways and steps forward. Descartes in 5 Elements summarized the idea about the spirits really nicely. She said, "When strong emotions come, the way of the sage is not to try to stop them, but to observe their rushing passage. We watch them from the top of the high hill, as we might view the magnificent passing of the towering thunderclouds on a rainy summer evening. In this way, we can allow emotions to move through us while maintaining our serenity. If we take a moment to sit quietly and turn the light of awareness inward to the heart, the Shen will return to guide us forward on our path." Next slide, please. All right, so in summary today, we've done a lot of work. We've learned the 4 channels affiliated with fire and 4 points for each of those channels. We have talked about creating peacefulness and joy in our life to give our heart calm and peacefulness. And then you can also do the visualization, the inner alchemy, to harmonize fire and water within your spirit. Next slide, please. So I just want to thank you all for your wonderful time and joining us today. And I'm so grateful to be able to share this time with you. I also want to thank again Adam Barr for his wonderful help behind the scenes. And then I'd like to invite you to join our next webinar on the fall equinox. And that's very useful because it's a time of preparing to go inward. So right now we get to go outward. It's a time of blooming and blossoming and joy and connection. And then in the fall, we'll prepare to go inward. To sign up for that webinar, you can go on to the website, innovationstowellness.com. And then also, if you'd like to schedule a private video session or an appointment with me, you can feel free to schedule online for online visits or text me in person for in-person visits. I just want to wish you peace, joy, happiness, cheerfulness, love, abundance, and an easy flow and transition into the summer season. All the beautiful things I wish you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.